Hey guys, it's a solo shot edition here for the Outspoken Network. Welcome in. I'm excited to get ready for football season and some questions I have going into this year for you guys. This is the question I'm asking today. Are we going into the most own none quarterback year we've seen? And what I mean by that is there's a lot of teams with quarterbacks who are uncertain. We have question marks about, is this the guy? And going into this year, it seems like there's a lot of those questions for every team. So I went through, put the quarterback kind of questions I have for them. We're going to go through those here real quick. Let me know what you think. So obviously, if you're going to look at the AFC quarterbacks, they're a lot better than the NFC quarterbacks, and we'll get into that here in a little bit too as well. But let's go through. Bills have Allen. Allen's solid. We know Josh Allen is a great quarterback. There's no question marks there. Let's go on to Tua. And Tua, before he gets injured last year and gets 3 concussions, was his best form we've seen. We thought, the new head coach came in and made him look the best Tua we've seen since college football. But the questions are still there on, can he be there consistently? Has he gotten over his injuries, and can they make that work? That's the questions you got, and his health plays a big part into that. If he stays healthy, then maybe, just maybe, he can continue to do what he did last year before he got injured. You got the New England Patriots, right? They went years and years with Tom Brady, and now you got Mac Jones. And Mac Jones, his first year as a rookie, made it to the playoffs. I thought this was going to be the guy for them. But every year, you hear about Bill Belichick trying to trade him. Behind the scenes, Bill Belichick is trying to trade him. So I'm not – if my head coach isn't comfortable with my quarterback, I don't know how there's not questions there, how you don't question your quarterback. Aaron Rodgers to the Jets, big question mark. The biggest pickup in the offseason for anybody, what Aaron Rodgers is going to show up. The back-to-back MVPs or the one that showed up at Green Bay last year who didn't seem to care and played his worst year he's had. So there's question marks there. How is he going to get along with his teammates, his coaches, the offensive scheme they got planned for him? We'll see what happens. Right? There's question marks there. So there's only one out of the whole division right there that I can sit here and say I got no questions on. That's Josh Allen. You're moving on to Baltimore. Lamar Jackson, big question marks. Set out for half a season last year, missed 7-8 games, decided to sit out on his team. They ended up paying him. They ended up caving in and paying him. Is this the guy that's going to lead into the future, to the Super Bowl? I don't think so, but they paid him. We still got questions for him. Joe Burrow, no question mark there. One of the best in the game. The Browns and Deshaun Watson, probably the biggest question marks we got. I put 3 question marks beside him. We have no clue who or what kind of quarterback he's going to be. This isn't last year. We didn't see the biggest, we didn't see the Deshaun Watson look like an elite quarterback. We saw somebody who didn't look like they could play the game. So there's still a bunch of question marks there. And then you move on to Pittsburgh. You got Pickett and Trubisky. Pickett showed promise last year. He's a rookie, but there's a question mark still when you're giving Trubisky a contract and you still have question marks and you don't really know who's going to be your quarterback. I think they should stick with Pickett and play him throughout and figure out if he's going to be the right one or not. The Texans, David Mills or C.J. Stroud. Question marks. When you draft a rookie quarterback, there's going to be question marks because you don't know don't know how they're going to turn out, right? Indy, they have Richardson or Ehlinger. And those are both question marks. Don't know who they're going to be. Richardson they kind of reached for him, in my opinion. Don't know who he's going to be, right? So that question marks. Jacksonville, Lawrence, no question here. He's a good quarterback. He Craig might argue with this one. You might say there are questions, but I think he's the best quarterback in the division. So I'm not going to question it. The Titans, you got Tannehill, Levis, Willis. They're looking to move on from Willis. Is Tannehill going to be the guy? They drafted Levis. There's a lot of question marks there in Tennessee. Then you move over to Denver, and Russell Wilson's a big question mark. Maybe the biggest question mark, one of the biggest ones going into this season. After the season he had last year, after the debacle it was of, hey, we just need a quarterback away. He comes in, he looks terrible. I mean, looks like he forgot how to play the game. Absolutely terrible. So big question mark for Denver. Mahomes, obviously not a question. Herbert, not a question for me. Might be a question for you, not a question mark for me. And then you got Jimmy G in Vegas. Jimmy G still has not practiced. He had surgery on his ankle and still has not practiced. Jimmy G, let alone Jimmy G playing like Jimmy G in other places. Some people say he just continues to win and teams don't. I don't know. Jimmy G's an interesting one to me because he continues to win. He puts up good seasons. He made it to the Super Bowl, but teams really don't want to stick around with him. I don't know why. I'm not a big Jimmy G fan. Some people are, but I'm going to question it because he still hasn't practiced at all this offseason, the OTAs. He's had surgery. Is Jimmy G going to be something different than we've seen him do before? I'm not sure. I'm not sure he's going to win there in Vegas. All right. Those are the AFC. Now let's go to the NFC quarterbacks. You got Dallas and Dak Prescott. No questions on him as far as is he good? He's a good quarterback. Daniel Jones, big time question marks. They overpaid him. He had one good year. They overpaid him. Dumb decision, in my opinion. And they're going to find out this year if he can be consistent. Philly, they have Hurts. No question marks on him as being a good quarterback. There's question marks on consistency of throwing the football. Can he have what he had last year? I think he can. I'm going to put him as a solid quarterback and not have any questions. Sam Howell, question mark, obviously. Justin Fields, question mark. And don't give me this, Justin Fields is a good quarterback. He was literally the worst throwing quarterback in the NFL as a starter last year. He ranked 34th in passing last year, overall passing as a quarterback. That 34th. There's only 32 football teams. So, yes, question marks. Jared Goff, decent quarterback. He's Jared Goff. He's a solid one. Not going to question that. Love with Green Bay, big question marks. Cousins, no questions. Good quarterback, but they're going into it, when I mean no questions, I mean it as in we know this is the guy. We know we're sticking with him, and we know what he can do. They know what they got. Atlanta with Ritter and Heineke, don't know what you got. Panthers, Bryce Young and Andy Dalton, question marks on both. Derek Carr of the Saints, question marks. Baker Mayfield replacing Tom Brady, question marks. Colt McCoy in Arizona because Murray's out, question marks. The Rams with Matthew Stafford coming off the surgery or coming off his injury, question marks. Sam Darnold and / Purdy. They went out and got Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold, not a good quarterback. He might thrive well there because the system that's in place would run the football, play good defense, but question marks. Purdy, can he continue to have the season he had last year once he comes back from injury? Will he take over Sam Darnold's spot once he comes back? Question marks. And then Seattle is Geno Smith, question marks. He had a really good year last year, but can he continue to be that successful? I don't know. I've yet to see it. There's so many question marks going into this year. Let alone that the AFC is stacked when it comes to quarterbacks against the NFC. I mean, if you go look at the differences, the NFC quarterbacks, starting quarterbacks, are abysmal compared to what the AFC holds, and that's not good for the NFC when it comes to facing in the Super Bowl, right? but it's going to make it tough for some really good quarterbacks in the AFC to make it all the way. I just feel like this year to me seems like a just overabundance of question marks at the quarterback position that we haven't seen in a really long time. Going through and looking at these, you usually can tell and usually know who's going to be the quarterback, what they're going to produce, and you're pretty solidly set on those quarterbacks. But there's so many questions going into this year. It may be the most I've seen. I don't know about you guys. What are your thoughts? Let me know. Feel free to come and like our podcast. We do a podcast, a live stream as well on Friday nights. Getting ready, we talk about sports. It's the Outspoken Sportscast and the Outspoken Network here, Sportscast edition. We do TikTok. We're on all social media. So come, click, subscribe, share us around, and feel free to keep it outspoken, guys. God bless.